Local 4 News begins right now with a breaking news alert.
Reckless driving causing death. Not guilty.
And just moments ago, a jury finding Charles Warren not guilty in the death of Michigan State Trooper Chad Wolf. The 70-year-old had been charged in Trooper Wolf's 2015 death on I-75. He was found not guilty on all counts. Local 4's Rod Maloney was in the courtroom today. And Rod, how did the trooper's family react when that verdict was read in the courtroom?
This was emotional on all fronts, Evrod. I mean, Charles Warren's family, I noticed one of his daughters was physically shaking as this verdict was being read. Neil Rockhind, not given to emotional outbursts necessarily, the defense attorney, hugged Charles Warren, and they both broke into tears. And then, of course, on the prosecution side, there was frustration and I think some anger there, too, that they did not get the verdict that they were after. It was a highly emotional scene as 3 counts. First, it was reckless driving, death resulting, leaving the scene of an accident, death resulting in a lesser traffic violation, all not guilty, found by the jury. 9 men, 3 women. And it was an emotional scene, and it was one of those things that everybody was mindful that in many ways there really was no winner in this. In fact, we're going to hear from Neil Rockhind, the defense attorney. He was the only person who spoke after this verdict, and he talked about this whole situation with Trooper Chad Wolf having died and the sadness that everybody feels in the wake of this accident.
Again, this is a case where there are no winners. There were no winners when the accident took place. There were no winners when the prosecution started. There are still no winners today. And I can't imagine that any juror is necessarily happy about a verdict in this case. It just happens to be the right verdict.
And so, Hank, this was the culmination of a 5-day-long trial. The fulcrum, the center point of this trial, in many ways, was what we heard from Charles Warren in the back of the police car. He had been placed there after the accident. In case people weren't aware, Charles Warren was driving up onto the I-75 on-ramp from Dixie Highway in Clarkston in the morning, back in August of 2015, and beside his trailer was Officer Wolf, who apparently hit the side of the trailer, skidded across the top of this flatbed trailer, and his riding leathers caught a bolt in that trailer. And apparently, Charles Warren didn't see any of this. And so he ended up driving up I-75 with Trooper Wolf dragging on the ground next to that trailer. When he discovered the wheel was sparking is when he pulled into the rest stop. And that's where all of this ended. And that's when he was put in the back of the police car. And Charles Warren, in many ways, as he started understanding what it was that he was involved with, felt terrible, said that, in fact, I remember one of the things that he said in the back of the police car was that, oh my God, if I killed him, you can kill me. He was that upset about this. So this was one of those things that the family, the Charles Warren family, he's 70 years old. They were expecting with a guilty verdict, they probably could have spent the rest of his life in prison. Instead, he walks away. Now, he and his family had nothing to say. We also wanted to speak to the prosecutor's office to see what they had to say about this. So far, they have had no comment and no statement. We'll certainly look for something later on this afternoon. So, again, not guilty on 3 counts, Charles Warren and the Trooper Chad Wolf dragging death. Reporting live in Pontiac, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
Rob, thank you. Also breaking at noon, a woman is hospitalized after shots are fired in an attempted carjacking on the west side. That woman was picking up a family member this morning near a nursing home when a man approached her on Grand River and Dundee. That's where Local 4 Steve Garagiola is live. And Steve, I understand this woman was able to drive to a police precinct after those shots were fired.
Yeah, she did, Hank. She reacted very quickly, and that's a good thing. It happened right across the street here, actually right up there. She was parked in front of that church annex. Because she acted quickly, she got away, and she's really pretty lucky. This could have been a very, very bad story. At about 9:30 this morning, the woman was parked here on Grand River in front of the New Light Baptist Church annex. She was waiting to pick up a relative. As she sat, a man approached her car with a clear indication that this was a carjacking.
She saw that he had a gun in his hand. He tapped on the window with the gun.
She then placed the vehicle in gear and attempted to pull off, at which time he fired 4 to 5 shots into the vehicle. The woman drove to the nearby 10th precinct for help. EMS took her to the hospital. It's unclear if she was hit by a bullet or flying glass, but she is expected to be okay. See, there are a couple bullet impacts into the dash of that vehicle, so she had a very close call. Police do have a description of her attacker, a black man in his 20s, about 5'7", 140 pounds. He has a medium complexion, a goatee, he's wearing a black baseball cap, he has a black hoodie on, and black blue jeans. He was armed with a blue steel automatic. Now, the Heritage Manor, that's the senior center, the nursing center right behind me. Nobody there was involved, although she may have been picking someone up who was there. She was kind of parked between the buildings. But again, she is taken to the hospital. It was unclear from the commander whether or not it was a bullet wound, but he said she will definitely be okay. There was actually a second man involved who was in what turned out to be the getaway car, and that was a blue Ford Focus described as a 1989 or 1990 model. So if you have any information at all about that vehicle or about these two individuals, the police hope someone will call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. Reporting live in Detroit, I'm Steve Garagiola, Local 4.
All right, Steve, glad she's okay. Thank you. New at noon, a new chapter in the ongoing legal battle involving two big-time trial attorneys here in Metro Detroit. Jeffrey Fieger has filed what is now a 4th civil suit accusing attorney Mike Morris of sexual assault. The latest case involves a former Morris employee who claims that he groped her during a staff holiday party in Detroit in 2015. Fieger has filed 3 other civil suits alleging Morris sexually assaulted other women. Morris has not yet responded to this latest filing. As of now, criminal charges have not been filed. Autopsy scheduled today, and they may hold a key in solving a mystery in Novi. A 31-year-old man and his 3-year-old son were playing poolside at the Glens of Northville apartment complex last night before they were pulled from the water and pronounced dead. Police say it doesn't appear that the pair was planning to swim last night, but the 3-year-old was playing near the pool. The investigation is ongoing. Police say the autopsies in this case are key at this point. Another investigation underway where 2 people were shot and killed in Southwest Detroit. Now, this happened this morning on the 700 block of Beard Street, that's near West Fort Street. A man in his 60s, a woman possibly in her 30s were found dead in an apartment building. No arrests have been made, but if you have any information about what may have happened, contact police. All right, turning to the weather today, let's get you over to Paul Gross. Paul, the sun is shining, looks nice out there.
We have a really pleasant day in progress, Hank. Take a look at the numbers now. Metro Airport's at 69, but look at Grosse Ile. You're at 70, 71 over in Monroe right now. City Airport in the city of Detroit's at 70. Ferndale, you're at 71. And even back to the west, similar numbers, although it's still a little cooler. Tecumseh, you're at 65. Manchester at 66. And as we shift to the north, basically similar numbers. Looks like mostly mid-60s. We're kind of shy away from some of those 70s. Though Macomb Township, you have 72 degrees right now. And finally, Sandusky, you were in the 50s for a good part of the morning. You're now in the mid-60s. Cloud cover wise, we have a mixture of clouds and sun across the area. These things that look like little cotton balls here, those are puffy cumulus clouds, and so through the afternoon those will be most prevalent across the northern half of the area. There'll be a little bit more in the way of sunshine through the afternoon to the south. There's only the slight chance for a shower to the north, but this big batch is going to stay to the north, and I want you to remember this because when I come back in about 10 minutes we're going to have to talk about the pattern that's causing that, because that could have implications for us later in the week. But for this afternoon, just breezy, mild, low to mid-70s for a high, plenty of sunshine, just a slight chance for a shower to the far north. Be back with your weekend forecast in just a bit, Hank.
Paul, thank you. 2 men suspected in a string of smoke shot robberies in Macomb County are in police custody right now. Undercover officers in Clinton Township spotted 2 men overnight breaking into a shop on Groesbeck just south of 16 Mile. During the chase, the suspects tried to ram the officer's car. They were arrested after their car burst into flames. The pair may be responsible, investigators say, for several other smoke shop break-ins in Metro Detroit. Still ahead here at noon, a couple and their dog rescued off a dangerous cliff. We'll show you the new video that captures the dramatic moment. But first, a suicide attack in the Afghan capital kills at least 80, injuring hundreds more. What U.S. officials are saying about the big blast. And here at noon, we continue to follow the breaking news from Pontiac. That is where a not guilty verdict has been reached on all counts for Charles Warren, the man on trial in the death of Michigan State Trooper Chad Wolf. The 70-year-old had been charged in Trooper Wolf's 2015 death that took place on I-75. We'll be right back.
If you take
A huge explosion rocked a highly secure diplomatic area of the Afghan capital, killing at least 80 people, injuring as many as 350. As Richard Engel reports, that suicide bomb was hidden in a sewage truck.
The bomb exploded at a strategic junction in Kabul's diplomatic quarter, the heart of international efforts to support the Afghan government. First responders were quick to arrive. This is, after all, supposed to be the most secure part of Kabul. The massive bomb in a vehicle detonated by the gate of the German embassy. The American embassy, shaken but undamaged, is just a few blocks away. So is an entrance to a fortified military base that serves as the headquarters for American and NATO troops. The base wasn't breached. The blast went off around 8:30 a.m., just as embassy and base employees, mostly Afghans, were heading to work. The Trump administration is struggling to come up with a new policy for Afghanistan. The country is more unstable than it's been in years, and bombing alone isn't fixing it. After recently dropping the so-called mother of all bombs on what the U.S. military called an ISIS tunnel network, U.S. officials say the administration is considering sending up to 5,000 more American troops to the country. That would bring the number of American troops to well over 10,000, fighting a war once said to have been all but won. So who was responsible? There are multiple militant groups that operate in Afghanistan, including Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. The Taliban quickly denied responsibility for the attack, which would make ISIS the most likely suspect. Richard Engel, ABC News, London.
To California now, a woman had to be airlifted to safety after trying to save her dog. Take a look at the video. You can see the woman, her boyfriend, and their dog stranded on a hillside. The victim's boyfriend was helping the dog up a ledge when it started sliding toward the edge of a steep hill. The woman quickly rushed to help her dog to safety, but she lost her balance, falling backwards, tumbling about 30 feet down the steep rocks, injuring herself. The couple called 911 for help, and the woman was hoisted to safety.
New at noon.
Still ahead here at noon, a 14-year-old boy being hailed a hero. We'll tell you how his quick action saved his brother's life. Paul?
Well, we have a very pleasant day in progress, Hank, and then we have a really nice day in store for tomorrow. And then we have the weekend that we have to talk about. I'll have the details just ahead.
Imagine living in fear of being deported every single day.
You're praying that, you don't get stopped by a cop, that you don't get pulled over by immigration.
That fear is paralyzing one of the most vibrant communities in Detroit, as immigration authorities have shifted their focus.
Yeah, there's been changes. I know the community's been moving around.
We'll tell you how the fear in Southwest is impacting every aspect of life and how community leaders are banding together to make sure residents know their rights. That story tonight at 11.
Make it an
Are you an injured?
Welcome back, everybody. Paul Gross joining us now. Boy, beautiful day out there today and beautiful morning to start the day.
It was a gorgeous start to the day. And in fact, I'm going to start with Storm Pins, because if we had a Storm Pins Hall of Fame, this would be a candidate. The tag here, Sports Bug, is the person who sent this in from Macomb Township. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous sunrise this morning. A lot of us had a real pretty sunrise, and we've had a real pretty morning. Thanks for sending that in. That is a great shot. And we'll, of course, look for more of your Storm Pins as we move through the day. And don't forget, on days with severe weather, if you see hail or damage, post those onto Storm Pins. We use those, and the National Weather Service also monitors our Storm Pins, and they use that to help verify some of their warnings. So it's real important, not just for fun and games. All right, mid-60s to even upper 60s across the area right now, so that's a pretty constant across the board. The warmest spots are around 70, and the wind, it's blowing 10 to 20 miles per hour, so you'll notice those breezes when you head out the door, but at least it's dry. Now, we have big upper level low pressure to our north here. You know, we always tell you about the counterclockwise flow around it, and what I want you to pay attention to the fact is that this is not going to move real fast, and so we're going to have this kind of this little track along the back side of it, bringing these little disturbances through. Think of this as like a bicycle wheel, and you have little spokes around the wheel, and each spoke is an area of showers. You can see one that's coming across the northern part of the lower peninsula right now. We'll have a break tomorrow, and then another one, as I'll show you in a minute, is going to come down on Friday. We have to keep an eye on. But for us right now, no rain in the area. There's only the very slightest chance for a shower to the far north, and those would be very isolated. I think most of us are going to have a dry afternoon, a breezy one, but a dry afternoon. The coolest spots will be in the upper 60s to near 70. The warmest spots will be in the low to mid 70s. So we're doing okay today. So yesterday's cold front, one of those spokes on that wheel has moved off to the east. Now tomorrow we have high pressure coming in and no spoke coming down. So we're going to have lots of sunshine, light wind. It's going to be a great day tomorrow. Hope you have a chance to enjoy it. Then as we get into Friday, we're going to have another little spoke coming down, and watch what happens. We have a little batch of showers here, and it looks like we're hoping that at least we can maybe keep it away from downtown. We know what's going on Friday downtown, and so we're going to try and keep those north of the city, but those diminish Friday night. We're dry to start the day Saturday, and right now, based on the latest model data, looks like this warm front will hold off until either very late in the day Saturday or Saturday evening. That would be great news for the Saturday festivities downtown. So this afternoon, again, mixture of clouds and sun. Again, low to mid 70s for the heart of the area. The cooler spots will be in the upper 60s to near 70, but it will be breezy. That's something, again, to remember. Tonight, becoming partly cloudy, then mostly clear. 51 in the city. Maybe some mid to upper 40s in the suburbs. So let's now talk about our 7-day forecast. So tomorrow, again, beautiful day, 75. Friday, maybe a shower north, but to the south will be dry. We're keeping the 70s through the weekend, but right now, Sunday, the big race itself, right now, a good chance for rain, Hank. We're going to have to keep an eye on that.
All right, Paul, thank you. A 14-year-old boy in Florida setting the Big Brother bar pretty high. He's being called a hero for doing the right thing. After his brother suffered a seizure last week, the children's mother was in the hospital giving birth to their sister. But back at home, her middle child was coming down with a fever. That is when his big brother FaceTimed mom, who told him to call 911. Paramedics arrived, but they almost missed the boy's apartment. So he actually had to run outside and down the street in an attempt to get the ambulance to circle back. Finally, paramedics arrived and rushed the young boy to the hospital.
I don't look at myself as a hero. I just what the right thing to do, being my brother.
His brother was in serious condition, but the good news, he's expected to be okay. Still ahead here at noon, a horse on the loose in the middle of Manhattan. New at noon, the video that captures the wild escape in the Big Apple.
100.